THC, CBD, and glutamate, the excitatory neurotransmitter of the brain? Absolutely. I'm Lex Pelger. This is a new Canna Education account from CV Sciences. Help us out with a follow and ask me anything. So glutamate is essential to the brain because it is our most common excitatory neurotransmitter. Other ones like serotonin and dopamine are more focused on one thing, but glutamate is when the brain needs to tell a neuron, yes, fire your signal. It is the basic green light, as opposed to the basic red light, which is GABA, which the cannabinoids also act on. So, as Stephen Wright says in his famous joke, it's like putting a dehumidifier and a humidifier in the same room and letting them fight it out. And in the middle is balance. And one thing to add about glutamate, it's not only a neurotransmitter, it's also an amino acid that we eat. It gives flavor to umami type things like kimchi. That's why it took so long for it to be discovered as a vital neurotransmitter, because they're like, oh, it's just a food thing that we eat. But actually, the blood-brain barrier keeps out the glutamate that's in your blood because that would be really toxic to your brain. But your brain is constantly using glutamate to fire its signal. So how do the cannabinoids play into this? There are neurons all over the brain called glutamatergic neurons that create glutamate and pass it on and say, excite, fire, pass on your signal. They have CB1 receptors in it, the first discovered cannabinoid receptor, which are activated by THC and modulated by CBD. And so it acts as a general control system for how excited your brain gets. So it makes sense that it's probably why it's helping for things like epilepsy, which is a brain being excited out of control. In addition, here's a weird, cool little piece of neurochemistry. There's something called heteromere complexes. And so that's when two different types of receptors on the surface of the cell get together and join, and they do something different than either of them do alone. And so it turns out that the CB2 receptor, the second ever discovered cannabinoid receptor, forms a heteromere complex with one of the glutamate receptors. And so these two join up. That's how closely linked the cannabinoid system is with this glutamate system. So how do we see this help in animal models of diseases that we study? Well, for instance, in substance use disorder, CBD helps rats with the self-administration and drug-seeking behaviors via the alterations to the glutamate system. In a mouse model of Alzheimer's disease, if you give them PEA, an endocannabinoid that you can buy from CV Sciences, for instance, it helped to rescue the cognitive deficits by fixing the glutamate levels in their hippocampus, which is the memory area of the brain. In autism, they've seen in brain imaging studies how CBD is helping via the alterations of glutamate and GABA pathways in the brain. So it's helping the brain find its balance between excitatory and inhibitory neurotransmitters. And to end on the mental health level, it seems like the antidepressant effects of CBD in mice seem to be mediated not only by serotonin signaling, but altering glutamate signaling.